What does it really take to build a green IT program that makes a meaningful difference? Welcome to The Circular Future, showcasing stories of circularity that reshaped how businesses operate and how you can do it in your organization too. I'm your host, Stephanie McLarty, Head of Sustainability at Quantum Lifecycle Partners, your trusted partner in electronics circularity. In our last episode of Season 3, yes, this is the last episode, Season 4 will launch in the fall, we're covering a topic that we regularly get asked about at Quantum, green IT. I'm delighted to have a leader in green IT on our podcast today, BDC, the Business Development Bank of Canada. We've seen firsthand at Quantum how forward-thinking they are in the green IT space. Joining me is Chrystal Healy, Assistant Vice President, Corporate Sustainability and Social Impact at BDC. She leads the bank's sustainability strategy, including climate action, inclusive entrepreneurship, Indigenous reconciliation, and supporting Canadian small to medium-sized enterprises and building resilient, low-carbon, and inclusive businesses. Also here today is Jim Hendrix Gresseau, who is lead green IT at BDC. Jim leads initiatives to analyze, measure, and reduce the organization's IT carbon footprint while embedding sustainability into IT operations. I love how practical this conversation is. Chrystal and Jim share openly about how they started their program, what are the key objectives of the program today, what they've learned, and their advice for others. The words measure and educate came up time and time again. And fun fact, they even have an internal podcast for their green IT program with a clever name. It's so inspiring and it's so useful. We'll get started after this short message. Picture this. Your company just landed a major contract and needs to scale up fast. But what about all that sensitive data on your old equipment? That's exactly where Quantum Lifecycle shines, handling everything from secure data destruction to responsible recycling. Turn what could be a compliance nightmare into a seamless transition. Go to quantumlifecycle.com for more information. Welcome to the podcast, Chrystal and Jim.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
All right.
I'm very excited that you're here. I know Quantum has worked with BDC for quite some time. I know that you have a great story to tell, and I'm excited that we're going to share it with all of our listeners today. So first, let's start as we always do with our question. Chrystal, I'm going to ask you this first. What would be 3 things that we should know about BDC?
Sure. First thing, BDC is the bank of entrepreneurs. So we live, breathe, helping small, medium-sized enterprises, otherwise known as SMEs. Financing, capital advisory, we help them in every part of their journey. The second thing is that we hold ourselves to high standards. We are B Corp certified and really proud and consistently recognized as one of Canada's top 100 employers and top diversity employer. And together this translates into impact. We serve over 100,000 entrepreneurs each year.
That's so many. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
Jim, entrepreneurs are the motor of our economy and are so important. So we're really proud of the mission that we have.
It's so true. Yeah. Jim, would you add anything to that?
Well, maybe one thing you should know, like 80 years ago, the loan application process would take weeks. And now the process is largely digitized. So it would take maybe 48 hours. You can have an initial response. So it's very interesting what we can do with IT.
Well, there you go. And I know we're talking about IT today and specifically your green IT program and all that you've done with that. So that's perfect. That's like a real life example of what you're enabling to happen. I will also say too that My old business was B Corp certified. And I remember when BDC got B Corp certified, by the way, the B stands for a benefit corporation, that you're for profit and for good. But I remember when BDC got certified, I was like, wow, like that is so amazing that such a large bank would get certified, go through the process, get approved. Like it really meant a lot to me that BDC got certified.
Jim knows all about it. He supported our last certification, so we can tell you how much work was involved. Eh, Jim?
A lot of work.
They are a lot of work.
But it's worth it.
Yeah, totally. And it stands for your values, as Chrystal, as you've said. And I think it's just BDC is such a really neat example of how you're working to make your organization as sustainable as possible, but you also very much see it as your mission to empower entrepreneurs to do the same in their businesses, to help them build greener businesses. Chrystal, can you expand on that?
Well, you said it really well, actually. It's really part of our dual mission from a sustainability perspective. I love what our team is doing, and sustainability is, I know it's cheesy. People always say it's part of our DNA, but I've been doing this for 20 years and I can really say like it's part of our DNA. We don't separate the sustainability out of, what we're doing with our clients. Yes, we work at reducing our footprint, whether it's emissions or from our building through our IT, but our mandate is broader. It's about also bringing entrepreneurs along with us on this journey. And we're not perfect. Like this is a journey that we're on. It's not easy journey. And we understand that. And we want to make it as easy as possible for entrepreneurs as well to navigate, the transition into a clean, low carbon economy in a really practical and economically viable way. So we need to do this in a way that makes sense for entrepreneurs. I've worked most of my career in very large organizations. Entrepreneurs often have, wear many hats. They have a small team. They don't necessarily have the expertise. So our role is to really help bring them along and integrate it into our core business, whether it's financing or advisory or capital, and especially equip them with like the tools and guidance to act. We have to do this through credibility. We have to act first, like you mentioned, B Corp, but then we also have to help others along on this journey, wherever they are in that journey.
Yeah, I think that's so important. It's a process for everyone, really, on the sustainability journey. And you're basically walking your talk by doing it first yourself and then helping others. And I will say too, at Quantum, I would say sustainability is part of our DNA as well, because we consider the planet one of our key stakeholders. And so we have initiatives aligned with that. Jim, I would say the Green IT program is a tangible example of what BDC is doing for sustainability. Can you start by telling us a little bit about its background and when did it get started at BDC?
Well, at BDC, we took a bottom-up approach to Green IT. Okay, a few years ago, we started with a small group of volunteers, and it became a movement. We even created a Green IT committee, which is still a very important part of that movement today. And I should add that the Green IT program really came together in early 2025 when we decided to structure things more formally. And as you know, ultimately what we want to do is to reduce our carbon footprint. So the question was, how can we reduce if we don't measure? And this is exactly the question that led us to initiate a new project to deploy a new tool to understand the footprint of our IT operations. So in summary, today it's about really three things. We want to measure our impact on a quarterly basis, integrate that in our IT, the way we run IT on a daily basis as well, but also we want to get people involved, meaning we're doubling down on education and awareness, which is very important.
Yeah. And it's so interesting to me. So it started as volunteers, and then over time, it became a structured committee. And then you've really identified these objectives, the need for measuring and integrating and educating. Mm-hmm. I would say in our work at Quantum, working with ITAD with a number of organizations, it comes up regularly about green IT and like, what are others doing and how can we implement something at our organization. So I think this is like, these are nuggets of wisdom here. So volunteer, like start somewhere, get structured. And I know in BDC's case, you've been able to really like build this out and scale your green IT program. Jim, can you speak to some of the successes and perhaps even like some of the data behind the successes?
That's a great question, Stephanie. One of the first actions that we took was on how we manage our devices. Very, very simple. For example, we shifted toward a refurbish high-performance equipment, and we extended our laptop life cycles beyond the 4-year refresh approach. Since it's been established that 80% of a device carbon footprint is linked to the manufacturing phase, the impact is really simple. Fewer devices to produce, reducing our emissions at the source while meeting the user needs. And today, about 97% of our laptops are classified as eco-friendly. And we've even recently started to introduce refurbished mobile devices, which is quite new. And another point I might add is, as I mentioned, engaging people. Right? So we wanted to make sure that sustainability is tangible for people. And so we run some initiatives regularly. For example, the Reparathon that we do maybe once or twice a year, just to help people extend the life of their personal devices. And we also do some e-waste collection events. The last one we did was for Earth Day. And this is really to raise awareness and for more responsible disposal. So it's really about shifting behaviors, you know. And maybe the last point I would add as well, this is really key. Okay, so we've invested in that ability to measure our carbon footprint, and because basically you need that visibility. And once you have it, you can move from good intentions to really data-driven decisions at scale. So very important, that point.
Interesting. Okay, so that measuring it allows you to make data-driven decisions. Also, what you said earlier around, like, so you started with laptops and you've moved into refurbished mobile devices as well. So I think that's a really interesting point. And then, yes, education and awareness. People need to know the impact of what they're doing and what they can do differently. So that's so important. Chrystal, from your lens, because I know you work on more of the corporate organizational sustainability, what have you seen have been benefits of having a strong green IT program internally at BDC?
First of all, I think Jim doesn't give himself enough credit of just how good the education is that he does. I'm extremely jealous of their podcast. They have one called 50 Shades of Green.
50 Shades of Green.
I love the title. I love it. It's really, I think the education piece that they do is really great. And I think the most important thing with their program is that it strengthens internal capability. So getting people outside of sustainability, of the sustainability team, we have a team to strengthen and flex their sustainability muscles and show other teams across organization like practical ways in which sustainability can be integrated into business processes. You don't have to be in the sustainability team. You don't have to be a sustainability professional to do sustainability. So teams can start thinking differently about procurement or lifecycle management and costs, and not just about sustainability. And I think that is, for me, the most important thing. I always say that I want to work myself out of a job. Like, well, we need everybody to be doing sustainability, not just the sustainability team. So I think for me, that's one of the greatest benefits.
I hear you. And as a sustainability professional myself, I get so excited when I see others that are not on our green team at Quantum, like, do initiatives and be proud of it. And yes, we need more of that. By the way, on the podcast, 50 Shades of Green, is that something that anyone can listen to, or is that just designed for internally?
Just internal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But that's what a wonderful way to spread awareness of what you're doing. And yeah, I love that. Start a podcast.
Oh, they get people from, just to give you an idea, like I mean, I was super honored to be on it, but they had our CEO on it, our chief IT officer, our chief HR officer. So they get some big names across the organization to come and talk. And I love the first question they ask every guest is like, "What color green are you?" So anyways, giving some props to their fantastic
Yeah.
podcast.
All right. I'm taking mental note for our own podcast.
Well, it's a good opportunity also to create that network of allies, and we see that it's very important for our green IT strategy as well. So very interesting what we've been able to do with that.
A network of allies. I love that. Chrystal, from where you sit, and I'm sure the green IT is a great example, and I know that there are others at BDC. When you think about these internal programs that really support sustainability and circularity at BDC, what do you think are some core elements to really like scaling them to be effective in the organization?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Over time, across different organizations, I've worked in different sectors. Sometimes it's not always the initiative. It's a lot about the systems that surround the initiatives. For me, there's kind of three things that I reflect on this that like really stand out. Jim already touched upon one of them, like measuring. We always say like you can't manage what you don't measure. You need to have that credible baseline. When you can quantify impact, the conversation shifts from just good intentions to real decisions. So it's not just about measuring it so that you can put it in a sustainability report. I'm talking measurement that helps you make decisions. And so we really need to differentiate between these two things. The other thing is enabling. People need the right tools, options, incentives. The only easy path is the status quo. You're not going to move forward. So you need to enable. And there's, we have, for example, an internal price of carbon that we put on business travel. We use the money into an internal fund that supports, for instance, the purchase of trees for, 5 trees for every laptop that is purchased. So we try to integrate these things and we try to engage through enabling tools. And the other one is like embedding. So it has to live inside existing processes. Like you can't over-engineer and try to initiate something new all the time. So whether it's procurement or governance, it's good to have committees. It's great that we have a green committee, but in sustainability, I can't have a procurement committee. And sometimes we need to also bring the right people around the table in a committee that they already have. Because if it sits on the side always, it's not going to scale. So we want to bring it into other conversations. And I think underpinning all of it, you need to have the right conditions. Like you need to have the right people aligned to a clear priority and working in partnership across the organization. And that's what turns these good ideas into something that actually scales. And it's the same things when you look at partnerships outside. Like we have initiatives that we do outside. It's the same thing. Like how do we scale this? How do we have the right people, the right partners? How are we monitoring? How are we making progress?
Yeah, the right people, right partners. Jim, so Chrystal's identified it, you've identified it, the need to really measure what you're doing. Can you speak to some of the things that you are measuring as part of your Green IT program?
Well, this tool really will allow us to measure the carbon footprint of, first of all, our devices. We're talking about laptops, iPhones, iPads, all the IT equipment, up to the cloud services that we have. And the idea, as I mentioned, is to really do an analysis every 3 months, so we can see where we need to improve. So that's and this analysis will feed also our green IT strategy, just to make sure we engage the right team, really. So in summary, this is what it helps us to do. And the one thing I'd like to add as well on this, sustainability and green IT is not something you can just address or scale through guidelines or policy. Scaling is enabled from our experience, really, is when people understand their impact. And as Chrystal mentioned, and they have to have the right tool. And this tool will be foundational for us.
So they have to understand the impact. Yeah. And that's where your education and your awareness really comes in to help people to understand the impact of the choices they make. And also I'm sure the why behind some of the things BDC is doing, and your green IT program. Now, we always talk about challenges on this podcast because there always are challenges no matter what we're talking about. Jim, what have been some of your biggest challenges with scaling your green IT program? And maybe let me first ask you from an employee level, since you do so much work working with and educating your employees at BDC.
Yeah. That's a good question. And challenges is my favorite subject, by the way. On the employee level, there are three things based on my experience. Three things to consider. And we have to be honest, right, Stephanie? Technology is everywhere. We just love the experience of the latest phone or smartwatch, the new added features, and we don't often think about what it takes to build and power those devices. For instance, a typical cell phone plan will be for maybe 2 years, and then there's already a new one with more features, capacity, more everything. So the real question, really, what happens to the device when we upgrade every 2 or 3 years, for instance? And the other piece of that is the mindset. Because for many people, getting the newest device feels almost like a fringe benefit, It's part of the role. But when you help them understand the environmental impact behind it, it can shift how they think and maybe make some more responsible choices. And coming from IT, the last point on this is kind of a reality check. It's called security. Okay, so if a device can't meet today's standards, it will be replaced. That's not even optional. So it's really a constraint that we need to work with as we push for more sustainable IT.
So yeah, go ahead.
So that's the employee perspective, but there's also the corporate level, because if we zoom out a little bit, we'll see that there's some kind of a paradox, right? Because technology on one side is mission critical for most organizations, and for a lot of companies, success depends on the strength of their tech platforms, and now more increasingly is how effectively they adopt AI. All right. But despite that, when it comes to sustainability commitments, technology tends to be quite low on the priority list. And this is where the opportunity sits, because if your biggest driver of growth is not part of your sustainability strategy, then, as we say, you're leaving impact on the table,
Interesting. You're leaving impact on the table if you're not embedding technology and IT into your sustainability strategy. Did I get that right?
Definitely.
That is a great little snippet, I think, for people to really think about. And I'm so glad you brought up security, and security being really like the basis or foundational. Like, devices have to meet today's security requirements, otherwise they can't be used. Because that's a real life example of what we're all dealing with right now. Chrystal, from your lens and thinking about it from an organizational standpoint, what would you say are the challenges you've seen, perhaps around measuring the programs like this, or even like beyond that?
Well, something that Jim just said actually is one of the biggest challenges in sustainability in general, but it's the span of control. So when you prioritize things where you have control, you prioritize things where you have control, because that's where you can influence and have impact. And so measurement is challenging. We don't have control of a lot of the emissions related. A lot of it's scope 3. Majority of it is scope 3. And that is a challenge. And then you bring AI into it, which is changing at a increasingly rapid pace. And your baseline is is changing every single day. You're not measuring against a fixed point. You're measuring while the system itself is moving. And so from an SME, from an entrepreneurial lens, there's an added layer. We talk a lot about how we're supporting our clients, because we're trying to translate what we're learning, internally to our clients, while we're still learning ourselves, and everybody's learning, right? So it's like building. We always talk about building the plane while you're flying it, but we're trying to build it, fly it, and then we're trying to explain to others how to fly it too. And for now, our focus is still very much getting it right internally, before necessarily scaling it broadly, but learning a lot about, what are those spans of control? Where should we be focusing? And what are the questions we should be asking when we're implementing AI, which is essential for the productivity gap in Canada. Like we need it. We need AI, but we want to make sure that we're using it in a responsible way where you're having the greatest impact.
Yeah. And I know it's a question we're grappling with at Quantum. And it appears to me that BDC is well ahead of probably many organizations really thinking about AI and how to use it sustainably. So perhaps we'll have you back in a little while to talk more about what BDC is doing.
I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to talk about.
Yes. Now, for a lot of organizations, basically, like I've just said with AI, they're probably much earlier in their green IT journey than, say, BDC is. So what would be tips you would give them for those people who are just starting out in their organizations with implementing green IT, especially looking back now and all the things you've learned over the last number of years doing green IT? Jim, I'm going to start with you. What would be tips for others?
Well, let me jump to measurement. Okay. Basically, it's important. If you ask the question around you in your organization, if anyone is interested or thinking about our environmental impact, you'll be surprised to find that a lot of people are thinking about it and are concerned. And ultimately, what's important, and as I mentioned, it's really the foundation, is to measure. That everything that you do should lead you to that. And if you want to scale, also I mentioned, I'm going back to it, double down on education and awareness. That's very important.
And Chrystal, what would you say?
Yeah, I'll add a little bit about the communication piece. I mean, I've already talked about making sustainability choice the easy choice, but the story doesn't always have to be about sustainability. And I mean, Jim has heard me say this. I talk about this a lot with my team. We're within BDC, our clients, we're not all in the same place on this journey. You have to meet people where they are, and you have to connect to what matters to them, whether it's cost, performance, risk, simplicity, brand, whatever it is. You have to connect to what matters for them. And I often joke about my smoothie theory. As a parent, you start with the chocolate and banana, and then you work your way up to sneaking the orange and the carrots with the mango. And then eventually you get to the green smoothie. Sustainability is the same. You can't start with the end state. You have to build trust. You have to make it relevant, and then you bring people along. And that combination is what makes it easy. It's what makes it relatable, and it's what really drives change. So I think it's really, really important to not always talk. It's, often say like the first rule about sustainability is don't talk about sustainability, like make it relevant.
Yeah.
We believe in the business case, so you don't always have to start with the end point.
Yeah. One size does not fit all. And yeah, I love that smoothie analogy. I think that's great. Yeah. Customize it based on
my smoothie analogy one day.
I think that's a great idea, Chrystal. I think that's a great idea.
It'll be about parenting and sustainability.
Parenting. Okay. I will read it for sure. We have talked about so much in today's conversation. What I've really loved about it is there's so many practical nuggets of wisdom in this for someone who is thinking about starting a green IT program in their organization. There's lots you can take away from today's conversation. But if we had to leave it with just one last piece of advice, if there was one thing that you would say, like, above all, do this, what would it be? Chrystal, I'm going to start with you.
Sure. Look, sustainability isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. So start where you are, take the next step, and remember, in a circular economy, nothing is wasted, not effort, not learning, not progress. It all builds on itself over time.
I just got goosebumps on that last part. Love it. Nothing is wasted in the circular economy. Jim, what about you?
A couple of things for me. Don't be afraid to start small. Humble beginning is key here. It's really a case where you don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So don't wait for the perfect solution. You'll probably fail at the beginning. The point is to start. Educate yourself along the way and make improvements as you go.
Get started. Yeah, we hear that so often on the podcast, the importance of getting started. And it takes time to get to, say, where you're at with your green IT program, but you have to start somewhere. BDC did, and you can too. Thank you so much to both of you for being here and sharing so openly and being so lovely.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
And that's a wrap on season 3. Remember, if you are looking for a partner to help you manage the life cycle of electronics, we'd love to chat. Head on over to quantumlifecycle.com and contact us. This is a Quantum Lifecycle podcast, and the producer is Sanjay Trivedi. Thank you for being a circular future champion in your company and beyond. We'll see you in season 4. Have a great summer. Logging off.